everyone, and welcome to the amazing living room studio again. This is Mr. Alsop, and I'm here to run another science lesson by you. So, this week, one of the things that I want us to do is to take a look at what we as human beings do related to science. How many of these scientific concepts are really just things that we as human beings kind of already do naturally? And one that we talk about a lot has to do with the scientific method. Human beings just kind of naturally do science. We have this thing that we call the scientific method, and that thing we call the scientific method is really set up as just kind of a way for us to do science in an organized fashion. But we all kind of do it naturally. If you think about even a little baby crawling across the floor, they see something that they don't know what it is. That's the first step in the scientific method, observation. They're observing something, they don't know what it is. They formulate a hypothesis, a guess, an idea about what it might be. And usually with a baby, that first thought is, I bet you that's food. I think I could probably eat that. Then they engage in an experiment, something to test that out. And they might pick up that piece of food from the floor and grab it and put it into their mouth to taste it and see if it's any good. Then they analyze the data and they try to figure out, was that good? Did I like that? Would I eat that again? And then usually they report out to everyone around them. They either giggle and laugh if they liked it, or they cry and yell if it was disgusting. And so the next step is inviting others to repeat that. And if any of you have ever had little babies, usually if they eat something, whether they like it or they don't like it, one of the things they try to do with it is shove it in your mouth. And so they're inviting you to repeat that same process. So that is the essence of the scientific method, and even babies do that. But today we're going to talk about a different piece of science, a different thing that we as scientists do that is also just kind of a natural human thing. And that thing is classification. Now, when we talk about classification today, we're going to talk about it with regards to a very specific kind of classification, something called a dichotomous key. And you can see here I have a moose because to me, when I think of dichotomous, I always think of a dichotomoose because it sounds kind of like a moose, and moose are interesting and cool looking and look amazing, and occasionally they even do wander around in here in the North Country, so that's kind of fun if you can catch a moose and see it and get a chance to interact with moose. um, but when we talk about dichotomous keys, what we're typically talking about is classification. That idea that we as human beings, we like to organize things. We like to put stuff in groups. And I'm sure you can think of times at home that you've probably organized things around your house. Maybe you've organized your shoes. Maybe you've organized what's in your closet. Maybe you like to organize your video games or your Legos or your action figures. Whatever it happens to be that you organize, all of those things, it's kind of a natural human desire to do that. Some of us organize our music collections. We all have something that we like to organize, and it's just a human thing that we love organization. Now, when we make a dichotomous key is a very specific kind of organization. It's a very specific kind of thing that we can do to help us organize, particularly animals and plants. But you can also use it for rocks. You can use it for anything that you want to find out more about. This goes along with a learning standard. The learning standard, it's a little different how it actually relates to it, but this does fall under that learning standard. It's something we teach usually when we start teaching about that learning standard. So with a dichotomous key, one of the key things that we see, and I'm going to use that word a lot today, one of the key things that we see in dichotomous keys is the idea behind a yes-no question. That's what makes this funny. It's a science joke. Science jokes are, well, never funny unless you're a scientist. It just happens. But dichotomous keys are kind of fun to make, and they're really interesting. So let's take a look at what a dichotomous key is. A dichotomous key is just a way that we identify things. When we go out for a walk in the woods, sometimes we see a plant and we don't know what it is. Sometimes we see, an animal and we don't know what that is. Sometimes it's a bug. Sometimes it might be, a rock. We're going to see things and we're not going to know what they are. We're not going to know what to call them. We're not going to know if anyone's ever seen them before. And so when we want to find out more about these things, a dichotomous key is a way for us to do that. It's a way for us to classify and identify things that we see in nature or even things that we see around our own environment. So when we make a dichotomous key, the key thing that we're going to do is use a series of yes and no questions. So we're going to ask yes and no questions in a dichotomous key. And one of the things that I see students do a lot that is a big mistake that students make with dichotomous keys is they'll ask questions and those questions won't have yes and no answers. They'll ask a question where the answer is, say, a color or a number. And you can't ask those kind of questions in a dichotomous key. And the reason why is because dichotomous keys are designed to be as easy to use as possible. And so a really good dichotomous key should allow you to go through the dichotomous key and only ever have to be able to say, yes, I see that, or no, I don't see that. Okay? So let's look at a very simple dichotomous key construction. Now, this first thing that I'm going to show you is not really a dichotomous key, but it's a good way to get us started thinking about how we construct them. So I am going to show you my laundry key. Now, I do the laundry. I take care of the laundry. I've taken care of the laundry my whole life. I've worked on laundry all the time. And my laundry key looks like this. When I look at a piece of laundry, I have to decide where it's going to go. Because as any of you who have done laundry know, or any of your parents who have done laundry know, you can't just take everything and throw it in the clothes washer, the washing machine. You have to separate things out because otherwise your white shirt turns pink or blue or some other color. So you can't just lump everything together and throw it all in at once and then take it all out and put it all in the dryer and dry everything and be done with laundry. That's not the way laundry works. First, you have to sort everything out. And so the first question in my sorting is to ask myself, is this my laundry? Because I don't live in my house alone. My wife lives here as well, and the laundry might be her laundry. So I have to ask that question first because my laundry and her laundry get treated very differently. So I'm going to ask myself this question. Is this piece of laundry that I'm holding in my hand my laundry? Yes, it will go here. Is this piece of laundry in my hand not my laundry? No, it goes over here. And I actually have two baskets. And so you can imagine this picture. I have these two squares here. Imagine these as two baskets. And I'm going to throw all of the laundry that's my laundry in one basket and all of the laundry that's not my laundry in the other basket. So now we have two baskets full of laundry. But I'm not done yet. There's more that I have to do to make sure that that laundry is going to be done correctly. So the next thing I have to do is I have to ask myself another question. So for all the laundry over here that's in my basket, I am going to ask, is that piece of laundry white, like one of my shirts? If it is white, it goes into another basket. Here's a basket here. I'm taking it out of this basket. I'm putting it in this basket now. So it's going to go in this basket here. If it is not white, then it is going to go into this other basket over here. So now I have a yes basket and a no basket for things that are white or not white in my laundry. Now, for my wife's laundry, the big question first is, can it be put in the dryer? Because my wife likes to wear a lot of sweaters. She's got a ton of sweaters. Now, her sweaters can't be put in the dryer or they'll shrink. So when I'm looking at her laundry, the first thing I have to ask myself is, can this go in the dryer? If it's yes, then it goes in my yes bin. If it goes no, then it's in my no bin. And so now I have her laundry separated out as to whether or not I can dry it. Then, for the things that are in the yes bin for my wife's laundry, I can take a look at those things and I can sort them further into things that are white and things that have colors. And I can take the things that can't be put into the dryer and sort those into whites and into colors. And then I can use those and I can put those into the washing machine and I can wash them and I'll know whether or not it's okay to dry them. So this is a good way for me to organize my laundry. But it's not technically a dichotomous key, because a dichotomous key should be used to identify what something is. Let's take a look at another example. So let's say that I have 4 bags of snacks. Okay, I have a bag over here of Flamin' Hot Cheetos. I have a bag of regular potato chips. I have a bag of wavy ranch chips, and I have a bag of spicy Doritos. Now Mr. Alsop's hungry. Oh well. Hopefully this episode doesn't go on much longer so that I can go get myself some snacks. So if I open these up and I take the snacks out from inside of them, I'm going to end up with some snacks that look like these. Okay? I have 4 snacks here. Now, if I had someone who didn't know what these snacks were, and I just showed them these 4 snacks, how would they know what bag the snack came from? Well, I might make them a dichotomous key to try to figure out what each snack is and what bag it came from. So let's start off with this dichotomous key. Now we're going to imagine that I have a placemat down on the table, and I've printed a dichotomous key on the placemat to help people figure out what goes where. So my first question for snack identification is, does it taste spicy? So I'm going to pick up one of these snacks from the pile, and I'm going to taste it and see if it tastes spicy. And when I taste this snack, it does not taste very spicy. So I'm going to put it in the no pile. When I taste this snack, it does taste spicy. So it's going to go over here in the yes pile. When I taste this snack, it also tastes spicy. So it ends up in the yes pile. And this snack down here does not taste spicy. So it ends up in the no pile. Now, I've separated them, but I haven't yet done what we really need to do for a dichotomous key. Because what we really need to do for a dichotomous key is to figure out what these snacks actually are. And in order to do that, we're going to have to ask more questions. So I have to come up with another question for the yes box. And I'm going to look at the things in the yes box and I'm going to try to figure out, what other question could I ask? Now, if I just look at those things, could I ask the question, is this snack orange? Well, no, because they're both orange. They'd both end up being a yes. I have to come up with a question that's going to split them up. A question that looks at them and sees a difference between them. So when I look at those snacks in the yes box and I try to think of what makes them different, the first thing that jumps out at me is the shape of those snacks. So I could ask a question like, is this snack a triangle? That would help me, right? Because one of them is a triangle and the other one isn't a triangle. Now, on the other hand, when I look on the other side, if I look at those 2 snacks, could I ask, is this snack yellow? No, I can't ask, is this snack yellow? Because they're both yellow. Could I ask, is this snack a triangle, just like I did on the other side? No, I can't use that, because neither one of them is a triangle. Now I have to come up with a different question for the other side. Now, I could ask the question, does this snack have ridges? Because one of them looks like it's ridged and the other one is nice and smooth. I could ask the question, is this snack smooth? I could even ask another question about taste. I could say, does this snack taste like ranch? But that's hard because we don't always know what ranch tastes like. And when you say something like that, if someone is from another country where ranch is not a flavor, now all of a sudden they don't know how to identify this thing. It's the same thing with, we don't ever want to say, is it large or is it big or is it heavy? Because all of those things are also up to us. What I think is large, what I think is big, what I think is heavy might be very different from what you think is large or what you think is big or what you think is heavy. I want you to imagine back when you were a really little kid. When you were a really little kid, you probably thought that some things were very, very heavy. But now that you've gotten older, you're starting to notice that those things that you thought were very, very heavy are not actually very heavy at all, that they've become very light to you. And so we can't use things like that, like heavy or large or long. We have to try to use things that everyone can kind of agree on. We like to measure things. Is it greater than 5 centimeters long? Is it less than 2 meters in length? We can use weight measurements. Is it less than a kilogram? Is it greater than a gram? Things like that. But we try to stay away from words that don't really have a measurement associated with them. But I think ridges are okay, because ridges I think are something that most people will understand. So when I look at my dichotomous key, the next stage in my dichotomous key would look like this. My snack identification table says, does it taste spicy? I have my 2 yeses and I have my 2 nos. Now I have my 2 new questions that I've asked. Is it triangular in shape and is it ridged? Now the important thing to notice is where all of these arrows go. These snacks that are in the yes box are going to this question. These snacks that are in the no box are going to this question. So I wouldn't want to answer by dragging this from here down to there and go, no, it's not triangular in shape, because it's not in the box that you're asking that question about. It's in the box that you're asking this question about. So for these 2 things, I would take my triangular shaped snack and move it into the yes box, and I would take my not triangular shaped snack and put it into the no box. Then on this side, I would take my not ridged potato chip and put it in the no box. And I would take my ridged potato chip and I would put it in the yes box. So yes, this is ridged. No, this is not ridged. Yes, this is a triangle. No, this is not a triangle. Then we are still not done yet, because we have these things all sorted out now, but we still don't have anything to tell someone who's looking to identify one of these things what it actually is. So we have to add a key to this. So I'm going to add another little layer down below this, where now I say that if it falls in this box, it is a spicy Dorito. If it falls in this box, it is a flaming hot Cheeto. If it falls in this box, it is a ranch wavy potato chip. And if it falls in this box, it is just a plain potato chip. Now I've completed my dichotomous key, and someone who doesn't know what these snacks are could potentially use my dichotomous key to try to figure out what each of these snacks are. So let's take a look at what that looks like. If I sat someone down at the table and I said, okay, on this table I have a placemat, and it has a dichotomous key, and I would like you to identify this snack. The person could take a bite of the snack and ask themselves this question: does it taste spicy? Yes. Then they would look and see, what is the next question? Is it triangular in shape? Yes. And they would be able to answer my question and say, oh, that is a spicy Dorito. If I gave them this chip, they would be able to say, oh, does it taste spicy? No, this does not taste spicy. Then they would follow to the next question. Is this ridged? Yes, this is ridged. And then they would know that this is a ranch wavy potato chip. So that's what we're looking for out of our dichotomous keys. And when we make a dichotomous key, the reason we're doing it is to identify something. And we're trying to do it in as simple a way as possible with yes-no questions that are answered just by either looking at or touching or tasting or smelling or listening to, what did I just say there? The object. What was I talking about? Those are the five senses. Those are the senses that we use when we're scientists. Those five senses, touch, taste, smell, sight, hearing, those five senses, we use those because everyone kind of perceives those things in close to the same way. We all see things similarly. Some people have color blindness, so they might not be able to see certain colors. There are some differences in eye structure among individuals, so they may not see things the same. That's why a lot of times in science we try to avoid using colors and things like that, because that can sometimes get messed up based on how someone has their vision working. So all of these are meant to help us identify this stuff by just using observations from our senses. And hopefully we'll get a chance maybe in the next couple of weeks to do a real quick, short lesson on observations. Now, as we look at our snack identification table, we've done a really good job here of creating our own dichotomous key. But that's not the only dichotomous key you could make. Today, Mr. Alsop is going to give you a little bit of homework. And I would like you to try to make a dichotomous key for something that you find around your house. So pick something that you have at least 4 of around your house, and try to see if you can make up a dichotomous key for it. A key that uses yes and no questions so that you can identify whatever that thing is and give it a name so you know what that's called. You might do this with your shoes. You might go into your closet, take a look at your shoes, and try to figure out how to make a key that identifies what each kind of shoe is. You might do this for your video games and try to make a key that helps you to identify what each video game actually is. You might do this for toys that you have around the house. You might do this for plants that you see when you're out walking in the woods. You might do this for tires on the vehicles around your house. Try to make your own dichotomous key, one that looks something like the dichotomous key that we just kind of made together. Now, this is not the only way that dichotomous keys can look. This is an example of a very, very different kind of dichotomous key. This is a dichotomous key for fish, but it asks questions and then has you go from question 1. If you say yes, then you go to question 2. But if you say no, then you go to question 3. It does the same thing as our dichotomous key, but it does it in a way that is very different looking and doesn't require as much graphic content. In our dichotomous key, we have a lot of boxes, a lot of lines, and very few words. This dichotomous key has way more words than it has boxes and lines and things like that. This dichotomous key is better if you're writing a book or if you're trying to teach people about something through text. The other kind of dichotomous key is better for younger learners, for people that maybe aren't as good at close reading, and sometimes for older people who can't always read the little tiny words in one of these dichotomous keys. So there are different versions of a dichotomous key depending on your audience and depending on what it is that you're trying to identify. In this case, you're also going to see that on this dichotomous key, there are a lot of very technical words. Things like caudal fin, um, and dorsal fin, and barbels, and things like that. In order to use this dichotomous key, you have to have a certain level of basic knowledge about the thing that the dichotomous key is trying to identify. And that is not at all uncommon when you start looking through books of dichotomous keys. So when you do that, most books that have a dichotomous key in them will also have a section of information that defines all of the words that not everyone would know. So that's also something to think about with your dichotomous key. You need to be sure that whatever it is you're asking about, everyone knows what you're talking about. And I think we can all think about it. I know I had this when I was a kid. My father, we would go out to the garage and he would ask me to get him a tool. And he would say something like, I need a 7/16 socket wrench and I need it now. And I would go and run and try to get a 7/16 inch socket wrench. But I didn't always know what he meant. And so sometimes I would come up with a 7/16 open-ended wrench. And he would be like, that's not a socket wrench. And then I would go open up the socket wrenches and I wouldn't find 7/16 because I had opened the wrong box and everything was in metric. And so I'd find like a 17 millimeter socket wrench and bring it to him and he would be like, that's a socket wrench, but it's not 7/16. So sometimes you have to define things for people so that they can understand what you're talking about. And I think those of you who try this at home will find that if you use your parents to test your dichotomous key, you'll find out how many things you might think are obvious that they need more explanation for. Anyway, that's all the time I have for today. Have a great rest of the week, and I will see you back again next week.